Hello everyone, here's a preview of what you will be creating. Welcome to the basketball project. The first thing we want to do is bring our images into Flash. Choose File, Import, Import to Library, and we're going to pull in our two files, hoop.gif and basketball.png. So you'll notice in the library area that you have the basketball PNG and hoop.gif. So if we click on it, we're able to see the image of each one. And then we have another image that Flash turns into its own symbol. We're just going to delete so that you will have practice creating your own symbols. The next thing that we have to do is pull the basketball and the hoop GIFs onto the stage. But before we do that, we're going to our timeline and we're going to add another layer. And then we're going to name the layers. This layer will say basketball. And we're going to name the second layer hoop. And then you notice that there are two empty keyframes. So we're going to select basketball. We're going to bring basketball over onto our stage area. And we're just going to resize it. Notice how it's all set for you to resize. If not, then you could right click and just go to free transform. And then we're going to select hoop and bring our hoop in, and notice how large this is, and we're going to resize it. And then we're going to flip it. So we would go to modify, transform, and flip horizontal. Okay. Now if you notice in the timeline area, this hoop, we're going to bring it down just a little. Okay. Now, in order for Flash to do any types of effects with graphical images, we have to turn it into what we call a symbol. Once it's a symbol, Flash will understand what it is. Right now, Flash does not understand images. So to transform each image into a symbol, we'll select the basketball, and then all you have to do is click F8. F8 will open up the convert to symbol box, and we're just going to call the symbol basketball underscore GRP. If you notice where it says type, you want graphic, but you have different choices: graphic, buttons, and movie clips. These are all considered symbols for Flash. This allows Flash to apply any of all different types of effects. Now with the graphic, the underscore GRP, if we had a button, it would be underscore BTN, and a movie clip, it would be underscore MC. The graphic is not often used, but for our project, we're going to use underscore GRP. Okay, the next thing we want to do is convert our basketball hoop to a symbol. So we're going to select it and click on F8, name it hoop underscore GRP, and it is a graphic. It's there for you, and just click OK. Now we have our graphic for the hoop, which is now a symbol. And the way that you can tell is if you look to your library, make sure that your library panel is open. So you have basketball and you have hoops, and they both have a little red, blue, and purple, I think that is the little block, which is Flash's way of saying these are graphic symbols. If we go to properties and we actually look at properties and click on it, you'll see under the graphic it says instance of hoop GRP. If you select the basketball, it says instance of basketball underscore GRP. This is saying an instance is a copy of the original. The next thing we want to do is start our animation. If we click on the basketball, because the basketball is what really is going to be doing all the animation, we can right click and create motion tween. Now it automatically gives you 24, it'll go to 24 because we have our frames per second set up as 24. So we'll just use 24 for right now. But notice how now we have to do the same thing for the hoop. But for the hoop, we don't need a motion tween because, as I explained to you in class, motion tweens allows for the animation. The hoop, we're really not animating. So if we click to frame 24 and click on F5, what that will do is add more keyframes. Everyone should try and learn the shortcut keys because it saves a lot of time. Notice how the basketball layer, you have this blue coloring. That is telling you you have a motion tween. So let's just bring our timeline over, our marker. Let's bring our marker over to 24. And for our basketball, always in animation, you have a beginning and end. So what you want to do is just place the ball where you want it to end up. Notice that there is a green line, and that green line is your actual animation line. Okay, this is the line that's going to allow you to animate. The next thing we want to do is put different keyframes so that we can actually position our animation in different ways. We're going to insert a keyframe, and the way to do that is F6. Notice how there's another little black dot right there. So in F6, we're going to raise our basketball up, and then we're going to move it to number 10, and we're going to click on F6 on the timeline, and then we're going to bring the basketball down, and then we're going to go to the timeline, move it to 20. We're going to click F6, and then we're going to move our basketball up 1, and then we're going to move it to, let's say, 23, and we're going to click on F6. Now, if you look on the bottom, if you see my cursor, you look on the bottom, this tells you what frames you're at. See how it's changing to 24? Okay, so let's go back to 23 because we didn't do anything with it. And let's move our ball right over the top of the opening. That's it. So we could go back and forth just to see, scrub through the timeline. And if we hit the return key, there goes our animation. I have two keyframes right next to each other. Notice the timing. It's at a fast pace. So I'm going to move the keyframe over for 20 and then move the other keyframe over. The way that you move keyframes is if you go Apple and then let's move it to 16. And then I'm going to click on Apple and the click. So what you're actually doing is holding down the Apple key and then mouse click. Let's move this over to 21. And now let's hit the return again. And it goes a little bit smoother. Let's save it. Okay, so there's one other thing we must do with this, and notice how it's a continuous loop. Well, we need to add a stop action at the end of the frame, so it only goes through one time. So let's click out of that. Let's insert a new layer, and our new layer is going to be called Actions. Let's open the Actions panel, Window, Actions, and in the Actions panel it allows you to type in this area. So let's type in stop, left and right parenthesis, and then a semicolon. If we look at our timeline, and then we could just close this panel. If we look at our timeline, we're going to see a little A right next to the actions, and it's on frame 1, but we want to place it on frame 24. So we're going to just select the A and move it all the way to frame 24. Now we're going to save it, and there we go. Our animation, let's do it one more time.